as we're just we're just on recording.
We're happy.
Alright, Sarah for science guy.
Yeah, we can be renting it out.
So I'm talking to Sylvester right now about renting it out.
Oh. We can be renting it out. If you might as well have noticed, this is a setup that I've just done in my room, put up some books in the back. I just realized this can be a low rent podcast that I can start with, you know what I mean? A whole setup of a podcast is quite a lavished enterprise. And there's always the best place to start, which is basically this. Yeah, this is a wall full of stories, you know? There are books there, and there's a controller there, there's a bag there. Kind of sums up everything that makes up a particular day. Hey, what's up, folks? How you doing? So 2023 has been a good year, and it's one of those moments where we have to do a recap of everything we covered on the channel and some resolutions going forward. I know it's actually very laughable to make goals and resolutions that 90% of the time we don't get to meet, but it's always welcome to try to draw down goals and resolutions. And if you look at the inability to meet goals and resolutions, it hangs on us because we are inherently procrastinating individuals. But going forward, I hope this is something that we can change and look into in a whole different fashion. So my channel has gone through a lot of evolutions and changes here and there. I remember at some point I tried to rebrand it into a literary channel, but then I realized, looking at the nature at which I'd started the channel, that kind of conflicts with the history and the goal of the channel. So I reverted to it just being called Seraph ZM. But then I thought Seraph ZM doesn't necessarily communicate what it is I want to do with the channel and where I want to drive it. So I then switched it up, and then it morphed into Cafeteria Science. And Cafeteria Science is something I feel I should carry on. It's a brand that I feel I should take up. A lot of people have criticized me saying, you've had so much conflicting content on your channel. Conflicting in the sense that you don't have a niche and you're kind of splitting your audience. But to start off, the way I was seeing this whole thing was, if I could reach a diverse range of audiences with different interests, as well as different things they're looking for, perhaps I could help my channel grow. But that proved to be a wrong perspective altogether in the long run. So I decided to hone in on one particular thing and one particular thing only, which is science education. That has not been particularly easy or interesting. The point I noticed along the way is, in my efforts to try to communicate science to an indifferent audience, I overly diluted that science. And in overly diluting it, I felt I lost an audience that I shouldn't have lost. One first resolution going into 2024 is not handling my audience with kid gloves. We're just going to go hard on this. If it's science, we're going to stick to the science with all its with all its complexities, with all its loaded terms and communication. And I want to not only communicate the science, but try to morph it and mix it up with a little bit of philosophy. One of the major things that has changed in my perspective is I have learned to have a little more appreciation for the contribution that philosophy brings to intellectual discourse. And once you get to that point, you tend to have a little bit of intellectual humility. 90% of the time, if you're a person who is overly occupied and focused on naturalistic science in its purest form, you tend to water down the importance and the contribution that philosophy has in this whole arena. And this is like a normal tendency that is communicated in subtle ways, even among the scientific community. There's this idea that philosophy is just basically armchair reasoning. You don't go out there and do empirical research and all that stuff. But it's important to note that philosophy plays a huge role in how we channel and how we communicate science. And so I wanted to put in this new face that brings philosophy to the fore, as well as brings science to the fore, without actually diluting the science. Because I feel like these two things go together. Another resolution is I wanted to be doing full-on detailed book reviews. So I remember I had started 2023 with a long list of books I was intending to read and space them up in a 2-week time frame, because I was practically thinking I will create the time and 90% of the reading I'll be doing will be like on the road reading, you know what I mean? I was so confident in the fact that I could pull this off, but reality kicked in, and out of the almost 53 list that I put up, I only succeeded to read 4 books, in fact 5, that you could say I read to the full page, cover to cover. I'm intending to start 2024 with reviewing the books, at least that I read throughout 2023, that I actually read and appreciated. Another resolution for 2024 is treating the elephant in the room. I have a book which is not finished, and this is my book, Open, because the main goal of the book was to kind of give people a rounded up understanding of what science is. And remember, the book is intended for an indifferent audience, an audience that doesn't think so much of the scientific contribution and what science has to contribute to our existence. So when you're writing for such an audience, I feel I was constantly getting tempted into being up to date with what you're communicating, as well as just communicating the central ideas for somebody to have a basic foundation from which to build from which to join this conversation. And so Open is a book that I'm also intending to finish. So with that said, I would just like to wish you a happy new year. And in as much as it's laughable to draw down goals and resolutions, you can always do it again. It doesn't hurt to do it again and to fail again, do it again, fail again. Someday you're going to be able to meet some of these goals. I think goals kind of give you direction. They kind of give you a direction, even though it's to some degree a little elusive and delusional, but the mere fact that you can look back and say, I failed to meet these particular goals, helps you, kind of sobers you up in a unique way that having no goals whatsoever wouldn't. So good luck to a new year, and this is going to be cafeteria science going forward. And this time around, we're not diluting anything. We're going to go hardcore.
This is cool, man. This is actually some cool shit.
Yeah.
Right here.
Well,
So
now
you've realized that I can actually just do this at home.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You can just be setting up this shit.
So now you're like, what the fuck, man? Cool.